They say that allows Democrats to perform abortions up until, birth.
So if you didn't see it, earlier this week in Massachusetts, they signed legislation that allows abortion up to the moment of birth. And the video of this signing is just ghoulish. It is a bunch of women standing around as the legislation is signed, smiling and sort of giggling or laughing and applauding. It is ghoulish. Let's take a look. Yay, yay for abortion, yay, yay for killing kids. Well, this got me thinking. There was an ancient god, false god, mentioned in the Old Testament multiple times called Moloch. Some people call him Moloch or Moloch, but the general pronunciation is Moloch. Moloch was the god of human sacrifice, not just human sacrifice, but child sacrifice. And I was in a prayer meeting with some friends and I said, man, that guy gets around because he was around in the Old Testament and now we see him working even now. And that got me thinking, I wonder how much Moloch actually does get around. And so I started doing some research with Grok, trying to find out how consistent has child sacrifice been across human history. And it is crazy, folks. I think we can build an argument that Moloch has been active through all of human history. And when child sacrifice seems to die out one place, it's like he gets up and moves and starts doing it in another place. So I'm gonna kind of semi read through some of this because I there's no way I could keep all of this in my head. But let's just go through and let's kind of build the case that Moloch may have been active, moving around the globe, inspiring child sacrifice, satanic child sacrifice for all of human history. And by the way, Moloch, the Hebrew word used for him in the Old Testament is a word for king, but it is adjusted with a pronunciation, as I understand it, that also sounds like shame. So he's potentially the king of shame. That's the persona of this demon, this false god. So we see possible child sacrifice show up as early as, and this is secular dating. This is not Old Testament dating. We tend to think, biblical record keeping shows that the world is about 6,000 years old, but we're going to use secular dating here. It only applies for the first couple of these. You see evidence, possible evidence of child sacrifice as early as 7,400 BC. So we're talking Anatolia, the Neolithic period. These are early farmers and villagers, and we see possible evidence there. So that's 7,400 to 6,200 BC. At the same time, from 7,000 to 5,000 BC, we see other early Neolithic evidence. These are agricultural communities showing up on the outskirts of Mesopotamia. Then, so that's 7,000 to 5,000. Then from 3,100 to 2,800, we began seeing really strong evidence in southeast Turkey. This is early Bronze Age, kind of highland settlements, again on the edge of Mesopotamia, because we're just starting to spread out. We're barely spreading out at that point. So that's 3,100 to 2,800. Simultaneously, from 5,000 to 2,000 BC, you see northern Mesopotamia. So we're talking about Syria, and that area, again, Bronze Age city states where you've got temples and towns. We see evidence there as well. Then you get into early dynastic Egypt. So we were at 5,000 to 2,000 BC. From about 3,000 to about 2,800 BC, you see really clear evidence of human sacrifice show up in early dynastic Egypt. And so it's human sacrifice. Some of that, it's limited child sacrifice. Now let's switch over to China. And I don't know how to pronounce this because I don't speak Chinese. But something like, we're talking about early China, something like the Shimao era. Again, I was researching this and reading it, not hearing it. This is 2300 BC to 1800 BC. Very clear evidence of child sacrifice there. 2300 to 1800. Then from 1800 to about 1000 BC, the Shang dynasty in China. We're seeing very clear evidence of that as well. So again, we're laying this out. There is almost a continual line of child sacrifice around the world. Then you get into the Canaanites. We're talking about biblical accounts now. You're getting into the Canaanites in the Levant. These are Bronze Age city-state civilizations. This is from about 1500 to 1000. So, and we see evidence of child sacrifice there. Then from 1000 to about 600 BC, you see Israel and Judah flirting with it. You know, King Solomon builds a high place to Moloch where they can sacrifice children. It's absolutely horrific. And that's despite the Mosaic law forbidding it and calling it just absolutely horrible. So that's 1000 to about 600. Then from 800 to about 150 BC, we see it with the Phoenicians and the Carthaginians. Then from the about 1st to 3rd century AD, you see this in North Africa, sort of post-Carthaginian. This is Roman era in North Africa. That's 1st century to 3rd century. Then, now at the same time, from the 1st century BC through the early centuries AD, you see it in the Celtic and Germanic tribes in Europe, and Rome helps to stamp that out. But we begin to get records of it there. Then, so that's 1st century BC to early centuries AD. Then, concurrent with that, remember all of this is overlapping, almost all of it's overlapping. We see from 250 to 900 AD, really clear evidence of child sacrifice in the Mayan civilization. That's 250 to 900. Then from 900 to early 1500s, we go to the Toltec and Aztec civilizations, and very clear evidence of child sacrifice then. Again, 900 to 1500 AD. Concurrent with that, you see it happening in the Incan civilization as well. That's from about 1400 to, again, early 1500s. It pops back up again in West African kingdoms. So the Dahomey and the Ashanti. These are powerful Western African monarchies, and we've got probable to pretty good evidence of child sacrifice then. That's 1600s to 1800s, and it shows up in India as well. And guess what ends it in India in the 1850s? The British Empire. Now, again, ended in India in the 1850s. Well, where did it begin? When did it begin to pick up in America? Mid 1800s. And abortion had been a problem in America and in England for years, but it began to become commercialized in the mid 1800s. And we end up with estimates that by the end of the 19th into the early 20th century, we're looking at tens of thousands of babies murdered through abortion each year in America. And then, of course, we know what happens from there. It continues to grow. Then Roe hits, and within just a few years, we're over 1 million babies per year aborted, thanks to Roe. So I think we can make a pretty good argument that Moloch, the god, the false god of child sacrifice, he has been active on planet Earth since the very beginning, prompting different human cultures, different societies, these innocent babies being sacrificed for nothing but Satan's pleasure. I had Grok Imagine put together a rendering of what a Moloch altar might have looked like. This is what he came up with. I sit there and look at that and think, yeah, looks about right. Looks about right. So when we go back to this signing of the Massachusetts legislation, what are these women applauding? They're applauding this guy. They're applauding sending babies to this guy, using not just individual abortions, but the incredible industrial high capacity technology of the modern age. They're smiling and grinning and clapping, essentially for putting innocent babies on a conveyor belt to be murdered one by one for this ancient evil demon called Moloch. Next time you hear a pro choice person talking about abortion and how wonderful it is, remember this image. Remember, this is who they're serving. This is who they're helping out. This is who they're pleasing when they abort those innocent babies. This is a crime against humanity, and it has to be stopped. Whether we can get it stopped all at once, which is super unlikely, or we do it incrementally, chipping away at it, got to get this stopped. We serve Jehovah God, who loves all of us, even those who are sacrificing to Moloch. He especially loves innocent babies.